name is Carlene. Welcome to our Rustic Sunday Craft Kitchen. Thank you so much for ordering an eco-friendly craft kit with us. I'm very excited to show you our stenciling process today. If you have any questions, please let us know. I'll leave our email in the description below. And definitely click the subscribe button and the little bell if you want to see some of our new upcoming products. We release new stencil designs and products every single week. So we're very excited about our next release, and definitely stay tuned for that. Today I'm going to be demonstrating our Scandinavian gnome stencil on a whitewashed reclaimed wood sign. If you did purchase a tote instead, or one of our smaller signs, this stenciling process will be exactly the same. So let's first have a look at what's in our kit. This is definitely important to have everything unpacked and ready to go. You should have a stencil that looks like this. It has some ink on the inside. It's got cut lines around the actual image. You should also have, along with this stencil, a sheet that looks like this that has clear tape on it. We will use that later. In your little baggie, you should have either one of these, a bristle or a foam brush. Doesn't matter which one, they're both equal. And a little thumbtack in the case that you did receive two sheets like this, as well as your paints. So have those ready to go. Definitely I will demonstrate this step by step. If you want to pause it, feel free to do so. Feel free to grab new beverages and snacks in between as well. There's definitely no need to rush when you're doing this craft project. It's supposed to be fun and relaxing, so take your time. If you received a stencil that looks like this, it's just because our printer is not always perfect. And if for some reason we thought that you might be confused while doing the weeding, we just did it for you and applied the tape. So if you have one that looks like this, where it's already weeded and taped, please skip forward to step 2, which is the application of the stencil onto the sign. Your step 1 is already done. All right, so let's get started with step 1. This is a printed and cut stencil that you're gonna be weeding, and it's a very simple process. I'll begin showing you what I'm talking about here from afar, but in just a second here, I'm gonna zoom in to actually show you a close-up as well. So if you have a look, you're gonna see some printed, either it's usually a diagonal line on the inside of your stencil. This is all getting removed. So we call it weeding because it's just a removal of vinyl before we apply it to the sign. So this is usually another 5 minutes here. Definitely take your time, go slow with this. And as you can see, it's already cut around the stencil. So basically just peel up everything that has the hatched line on the inside printed. So you're gonna go nice and slowly, and this is where our little thumbtack can come in handy. So I like to use him because he can get into little tiny spots. If you are noticing that little blue pieces that aren't supposed to be lifting are lifting. So go nice and slowly, and I'm gonna demonstrate here how to peel up. So I use this tack mostly just to press down on things that I want to stay behind. For instance, on this gnome, you're gonna see a lot of little whisker pieces and their little feet, and the nose, of course. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you leave those behind, the inside pieces of those. So anything that doesn't have ink on it should stay behind and should not be removed, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna push down with my tack, make sure I don't lose him, keep him stuck down. You can also just check your piece before you crumple it up into a ball and throw it away. Just make sure you didn't miss anything in here. Sometimes you'll notice something after you look at it and you'll say, oh shoot. And if that does happen, you can definitely peel up that little piece and just stick it right back down.
You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I am telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, and he knows when you're awake. if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I am telling you why. 'Cause Santa Claus is coming to town. Oh, let's go!
The next step is going to be grab this piece of paper here that has all the clear strips of tape on it. Peel up, I mean, I'm going to look to see which one was the last one we laid down here, but if they're overlapping a little. But peel up your tape and you're going to just place it down over everything that's white on your stencil. So this is called transfer tape because it's meant to transfer the stencil, which is a very flimsy vinyl, over to a hard surface. So in that case, our signs, or I guess your tote bag. And so just lay these down. I like to overlap just a little bit, maybe like 1/8 of an inch, just whatever. You don't have to get super technical here. You just want to make sure that all of your white stencil pieces, like anything that's white on your vinyl, is getting covered with this clear tape. All right, so you put that to the side. It's not really needed anymore, but maybe you'll find a use for it later. And next step is gonna be, you're gonna wanna smooth this down as best as you can with your hands. So just, I like to kind of get right in there. You can use your knuckles. Definitely focus on the little itty bits of blue stencil that, in my case, they're like definitely the whiskers, nose, things like that. If you have a lot of little writing, focus on those areas as well. Make sure you get all the pieces stuck down nice. And then we're gonna apply our stencil next. So this is step number 2. And how you do this is you just remove the sticky blue part from the white backing. So it's just like a sticker, a really big sticker. And I like to get a corner peeled like this, but then before you continue pulling, make sure to flip it over. I find this helps a lot just with applying pressure if you're noticing anything of the blue bits are kind of trying to stay behind on the white backing. So in this case, you can see one of my whiskers is trying to stay behind. So just apply a little bit of pressure just by pushing down on your tabletop or sign. And just apply pressure everywhere that's needed to make sure that it's stuck down nice for you. I like to walk with it with my other hand, so making sure that, you know, there's a little blue guy, you can always kind of back up and stick him down and keep going. The key here is to not have any blue pieces left on your white backing. So keep working. Usually this takes a minute or so. There we go. So this little piece of backing, I would recommend you leave it close to you. I'm going to show you a way to reuse that shortly. And right now I have sticky side up, and what we're going to do is just flip it over and place the sticky side down on your sign or tote bag. And the key here is you want to wiggle it around until you like where it is. It's not super stuck yet, but if you do smooth it down, it will be. So just kind of move it around, have a look at where the creases and cracks and knots and things like that are in your sign. Maybe you want to avoid those. If you do paint over them, in my case, I will be painting just directly over one of the seams of the connections of the board. Don't worry about it. It's going to look great either way. We're just going to be a little more careful when we're painting in there to make sure we don't like heavily glob paint later on. But yeah, I'm going to try to get my little gnomes probably centered here, but you're welcome to do it like down below if you wanted, or however you want to position your stencil. It's totally up to you. Move it around till you like where it is. You can also use the bottoms of the board, the seams of the board, the top of the board, or the sides to kind of adjust. I would recommend don't go by the outside of the stencil where it's cut. That's not accurate to like centered. I would recommend you actually look right at where the cut inside of your stencils are to position it that way. So for instance, I'm looking right now at the two little hats on the gnomes to make sure that this is relatively centered. So basically like an inch on either side is what I'm kind of going for. And then you can adjust if you wanted to pull it up. Right now it looks good, but I'm kind of following this line to see if all their little feet look about parallel with that crease or with the bottom, depending on what you want to look at. Nothing needs to be perfect. This is beautiful and rustic, so don't worry if it's a little bit out or anything like that. I think that's the charm of the art that you're doing. And yeah, so the next step will be that you're gonna peel away each piece of transfer tape, but before you do that, I would recommend, once again, smooth this down to your sign where you want it to be. So just nice and easy. Same thing, try to get right in there for anything that's little pieces of blue, just like this. All right, and then since I put my tape applied 1, 2, 3, I'm going to start by peeling the first piece of tape at the bottom because that one would be sitting on top.
I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Only a hippopotamus will do. Don't want a doll, no dinky tinker toy. I want a hippopotamus to play with and enjoy. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. I don't think Santa Claus will mind you. He won't have to use a dirty chimney flue. Just bring him through the front door, that's the easy thing to do. I can see me now on Christmas morning, creeping down the stairs. Oh, what joy and what surprise when I open up my eyes to see a hippo hero standing there. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Only a hippopotamus will do. No crocodiles, no rhinoceroses. I only like hippopotamuses, and hippopotamuses like me too.
Hey everyone, so we are now on step 3. I'm going to show you the painting process now and how to apply paint. You should have all of your clear pieces of tape removed, and I like to use these clear tape pieces again just to mask off the areas that I don't want to accidentally go over on the stencil. So if you notice, like for instance, your stencil is very close to the edge of the blue vinyl where it ends, you could definitely use some of this tape to just mask it off. Make sure that you don't accidentally have a weird line on the other side of your stencil later on. So yeah, let's get started with the painting. So grab your brush and grab your first paint color. Make sure to rinse and dry your brush very, very well if you are switching colors. So in between all the different hats, for instance, I'm gonna change, or I'm gonna wash my brush to make sure that that we have a nice bold color for each so they're not accidentally blending on the brush. Definitely rinse your brush, dry it really well, and then go on to your next color. Okay, so the first and most important key here is that you want to make sure you use very, very light amounts of paint. The lighter the paint, the cleaner the lines at the end when you peel it up. This just keeps it from bleeding and getting all crazy, especially where there's cracks. So keep an eye out if you have a sign with any cracks, any rough patches. You're gonna wanna go really, really light and gentle on those specific areas. And we're going for nice even coverage of colors. And if you do notice you want to build on your color, I would still recommend go really light, nice and even light coverage. Wait for it to get dry or at least tacky. and then you can go in for another layer, but don't try to heavily glob it all on at once, if that makes sense. Okay, so I will demonstrate. I'm gonna first use a bristle brush. If you have one of these, great. Don't worry, the method is the same whether you have a bristle brush or a foamy. Just kind of depends what we have in stock that day. I'm gonna use red, and I'm gonna use just a teeny tiny amount. So this is where your white backing that I was talking about, just keep it on the side, is gonna come in handy because you have a lot of paint in this pot and I don't wanna see it all going on your stencil at once. So the key here is dip some paint on your brush, but then try to get some of that paint off. So what I like to do is just use this backing to kind of remove a lot of that paint. So what you're going for is nice, light, even coverage on the brush before we even apply it to the stencil. So just looks good. So I'm gonna put red for this guy. So you're gonna see me just dabbing here. So the key as well with stippling for foamy or bristle brush is you wanna make sure you're always dabbing. This pushes down on the stencil and make sure that you get a nice clean line at the end. So just dabbing everywhere. This is a beautiful acrylic paint that we use, so it should carry really well. You'll be surprised at how little paint you use for this project. And I like to go back to that white backing if you just saw what I did. Usually I have excess there that I can use before I even use more from the pot of paint. So I'm gonna just be very careful because I actually want a line between kind of where his hat would end and where his beard would begin. So I'm gonna stop probably just like halfway around this guy's little nose. So yeah, you can see what I'm doing, just dabbing, dabbing, dabbing all over the place. You see I only like used a tiny little glob of paint here to get his whole hat covered. And you can always move the paint around a little bit more. So if you're noticing you're heavy in one spot, you can move some of that paint around just by continuing to dab in that whole area. Yeah. So there we go. We've got one little gnome hat done currently. I try to get it, you know, even coverage, but don't go too heavy into cracks and stuff. Once you peel it up, you're not even gonna notice if you are seeing that there is actually like lines that aren't totally full of paint. Don't worry about it, it's supposed to be rustic. We just wanna get a nice even coverage over everything. So now it's gonna be the time to wash your brush, and you're gonna make sure you dry it really well, and then you would switch colors. So I'm gonna go probably blue and green, and then red again, and then blue, and then all their little bodies are gonna be black. So at the end, I'm probably not gonna wash my brush. I'll just switch to the black color, but please, if you're nervous about it, just wash your brush every single time between every color. Okay, so the next step and final step is going to be peeling up our stencil to see what we've painted today. So grab your little thumbtack. This guy's gonna come in useful again if you have him. Otherwise, if you have bigger letters and words, you don't have to worry about it. You could just use your hands. Most of the time, that's what I do. So here's the finished product. I've got all my stencil pieces peeled up now. So here's the Scandinavian gnomes on a reclaimed barnwood sign. This one is the whitewashed feature going on for the holiday season. If you're looking for any other holiday crafts, please visit rusticscyanite.com and stay tuned. If you want to subscribe to our channel, you'll see brand new products coming out weekly. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you so much for your support. It really does mean the world to us, being a small family-owned company. And we wish you a wonderful fall and holiday season. Take care, everyone.